Cool, I said. The word tasted like ash in my mouth. My jaw was clamped so tight I thought a tooth might crack, but I forced my voice to remain as smooth and featureless as a frozen lake. I let the silence stretch for a heartbeat, just long enough to hear her breath hitch on the other end, before I delivered the sentence that would dismantle her entire world. Well, everything will be canceled then. There is a specific frequency of silence that follows a shift in power. It's not just quiet, it's a vacuum. I could feel her on the other end of the line, the blood likely draining from her face, the realization dawning that she had finally, fatalistically, pushed the wrong pawn. She thought I was joking. She always assumes I'm bluffing, because for 28 years, I have been the dutiful soldier. That is the fatal flaw of relying on the good daughter for too long. People forget that the capacity for obedience is often the only thing holding back a tidal wave of resentment. Once you stop trying to be chosen, you become dangerous. My name is Alara. I am 28 years old, and for as long as my memory serves, the month of December has not been a holiday. It has been an unpaid internship. I am the architect of the illusion. I curate the menus, I design the aesthetic, I manage the volatile group chats, and I quietly extinguish every emotional fire so that my mother, Veronica, can stand in the center of the room and play the role of the benevolent matriarch. Every scented candle, every coordinated outfit, every carefully timed playlist, that was my sweat, my anxiety, my invisible labor. And this year, the woman who built her social standing on the back of my effort looked me in the eye through the digital distance of a phone call and told me I was obsolete, not invited, not welcome, not needed. Something inside me didn't just break, it calcified. I didn't weep. I didn't plead for my seat at the table. If I was not needed, then I would demonstrate exactly how necessary I was. I held the keys to the kingdom, the guest list, the vendor contracts, the traditions. With a single tactical message sent at the precise moment of maximum impact, her porcelain Christmas would shatter. Have you ever wondered what happens when the invisible child finally decides to set the stage on fire? Stay with me, and I will walk you through the anatomy of the coldest revenge I have ever executed. When the call ended, I stood paralyzed in my cramped Los Angeles kitchen. The phone was a dead weight in my hand, the screen fading to black, reflecting a distorted image of a woman I barely recognized. No one needs you to come this Christmas. The phrase played on a loop in my mind, a toxic mantra.
For nearly 3 decades, I had constructed my life around that house, that dining table, that curated performance of familial bliss. In one breath, she had erased me. The absurdity of it was her tone. She had spoken as if she were granting me a reprieve, as if amputating me from the family was an act of mercy. That is Veronica's signature move. She breaks your legs and then expects gratitude for handing you a crutch. To the outside world, Veronica is the saint of the holiday season. Her tree is a masterpiece of symmetry. Her roasts are legendary. Her family photos are suitable for magazine covers. They applaud her effortlessly. They never see the logistics. They don't see the spreadsheets I code, the panic-induced errands I run when she forgets the gifts for her own siblings, or the nights I spend scrubbing scorch marks off pans while she holds court in the living room, accepting praise like a monarch accepting tribute. My brother, Caleb, likes to joke that I'm just good at the details. It is easy to be a minimalist when your only contribution is your physical presence. I remembered the previous year, when the oven malfunctioned an hour before the guests arrived. Veronica stood there, hands fluttering, already rehearsing her monologue about how the universe was conspiring against her. I didn't speak. I quietly stepped into the hallway, ordered emergency high-end catering, replated it upon arrival, and spun a lie to the guests about a surprise menu pivot. She received compliments on her culinary bravery. I received a murmured, "Thanks, Alara," while she posed for photos in front of the feast I had conjured. So when she told me I wasn't needed, a dark, cynical laugh bubbled up in my chest. If I vanished, that house wouldn't just feel empty, it would cease to function. I am the one who reminds Uncle Marcus about his insulin and his flight times. I am the one who drives Nana Rose so she isn't left rotting in her apartment. I act as the connective tissue of this family. Without me, the body falls apart. The more I dissected the situation, the more the fog lifted. For the first time in my life, I held the leverage. She believed I would retreat to my corner, cry into a pillow, and eventually mail my gifts like a loyal subject. But I was finished being the extra in a movie she directed. I opened the master family group chat, a digital registry of uncles, aunts, cousins, and neighbors, all neatly organized under my administrative control. Admin. The word suddenly felt like a loaded gun. I didn't type anything immediately. I let the concept breathe. If the person you treat as disposable suddenly withdraws the labor that sustains your lifestyle, what remains? Would they still smile if they knew the truth?
The next morning, my phone began to vibrate before the sun had fully risen. I didn't need to look at the caller ID to know it was Caleb. He is the diplomat, the one sent to smooth over the rough edges of Veronica's chaos. I let it ring until it nearly went to voicemail before answering. "What?" I said, skipping the pleasantries. "Wow, good morning to you too," he scoffed, shifting immediately into his preferred role of the weary peacemaker. "Look, Mom told me what happened. She didn't mean it like that. You know how she gets when the stress ramps up." There it was, the family translation service. "She stabbed you, but you shouldn't bleed," because she was holding the knife anxiously. "She said no one needs me," I replied, my voice devoid of warmth. "She meant it," he insisted, missing the point entirely. "She just doesn't want drama this year. She's tired. She's been doing this alone for years." I laughed, a sharp, jagged sound. "Doing what alone? Ordering me around?" He ignored the jab. "Anyway, even if you aren't coming physically, can you at least handle the logistics, the reminders, the playlist, the seating chart? People are already asking." "You have to be joking," I said. "So I am not needed, but my labor is essential?" "Alara, stop being dramatic. This isn't about you." I gripped the edge of the counter until my knuckles turned white. "Really? Because she explicitly made it about me." Caleb sighed, the sound of a man reading from a script. "Mom is worried. She thinks you're pulling away. She's the one who paid for your college, your apartment deposit, everything. The least you can do is make Christmas easy on her." A bitter, metallic taste flooded my mouth. "Paid for my college?" I repeated slowly. "You mean the college I dropped out of after one semester because I was told there was no money for me to continue?" "Oh my God, not this again," he muttered. "You know money was tight back then. Dad's business was crashing. She did what she had to do. She even used her fund to keep us afloat. Stop acting like the only victim." My brain stuttered. "What fund?" The silence that followed was heavy, the sound of a man realizing he had stepped onto a landmine. "Nothing. Look, forget it. Just, can you send the reminder in the group, please?" But I wasn't listening. My heart didn't sink. It hardened into diamond. "I have to go," I whispered, and I hung up before he could backpedal. I spent the afternoon tearing through my personal archives, old, dusty boxes of tax returns, letters, and files I had dragged from apartment to apartment. I needed proof. Deep in a folder marked childhood, I found it. An old statement from a local bank, an account opened in my name when I was 7. Attached was a faded yellow note in Nana Rose's handwriting, college savings for Alara only. I traced the columns of numbers until I reached the end. The final transaction was dated 5 years ago. The entire balance had been withdrawn in a single lump sum. It was the same year Caleb had racked up a gambling debt he claimed to have fixed himself. The withdrawal slip had 2 signatures, Veronica's, and a shaky forgery of my own. My hands trembled, not from grief, but from the electric shock of clarity. She hadn't just exiled me from a holiday dinner, she had cannibalized my future to feed her golden child. And now she wanted me to coordinate the celebration of her benevolence. I opened the family chat again. This time, I didn't hesitate. I created a new group. Christmas update, the real plan. I added everyone. Aunts, cousins, Nana Rose, my father. Everyone except Veronica and Caleb. I typed, "Hey everyone, just a quick update. Mom told me she is feeling incredibly overwhelmed this year and doesn't want a crowd. She asked me to scale things down, so I will be hosting anyone who still wants to celebrate at my place in LA. I totally understand if you have other plans, but if you want a warm meal, presents, and some real talk, my door is open." I stared at the message. It was polite. It was helpful. It was a declaration of war. I hit send. The responses were immediate. "Honestly, a smaller gathering sounds lovely. We were only going for you anyway, Alara. Can I bring the wine?" I watched as my mother's carefully curated empire began to tilt. It was a slow motion collapse, one polite text at a time. By evening, my apartment had transformed from a place of exile into Plan A. People were coordinating dishes, asking about arrival times, and expressing relief at avoiding the usual tension of Veronica's house. I didn't mention the stolen money. Not yet. Revenge is a dish best served with impeccable timing. Between coordinating the coup, I set my phone on a tripod in my kitchen. The lighting was harsh, unflattering, real. I hit record. My mother told me no one needed me to come home for Christmas this year, I began, staring into the lens. So I decided to see what would happen if I stopped doing the invisible work I've been doing for her my entire life. I didn't use names. I didn't scream. I simply laid out the forensic evidence of my life. The labor, the emotional manipulation, the financial discrepancies, the feeling of being staff in your own home. I finished with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. If you have ever been the forgotten one in your family, this Christmas is for us. I scheduled the video to go live on Christmas Eve. Then I went tactical. I called the high-end catering company Veronica used every year. The account was under my name because she refused to have traceable credit card debt.
"Hi, I need to cancel the holiday order," I said, my voice dripping with faux sweetness. "Yes, the entire banquet. Next, the linen rental service. Plans changed. Please cancel. Thank you." Finally, I called Nana Rose. She answered on the second ring, her voice frail but hopeful. "Ilara, are you excited for the big dinner?" My throat tightened. I hated hurting her, but I needed to save her. "Actually, Nana, Mom told me she is scaling things back. She's overwhelmed. But I didn't want you to be alone. How would you feel about coming to my place instead? I'll come get you." "Oh, sweetheart," she breathed. "I would love that. Your mother is always so busy. She hardly has time to sit with me." "Yeah," I said, staring at the blank wall. "Busy." I checked the chats. Veronica had created a panic room, a side group with just the immediate family. She was spiraling. "I don't know what is wrong with Ilara. She is trying to ruin Christmas. Caleb, fix this." She truly believed I was the villain. She couldn't conceive of a world where her actions had consequences. At midnight, Caleb video called me. He looked haggard, the stress of being the new emotional punching bag taking its toll. "What the hell are you doing?" he demanded. "People are asking if Mom's dinner is canceled? Did you tell them that?" "I told them she wanted something smaller," I replied calmly, "which is true. She doesn't want me there, remember?" "You are twisting everything," he snapped. "She just wanted less chaos." "Then she got exactly what she asked for," I said. "Fewer people, less chaos, less me. You are taking this too far, Ilara. This is family. You can't sabotage Christmas." "Funny," I said, leaning into the camera. "She had no problem sabotaging my future the day she signed away my college fund." He froze. He didn't have a comeback. He just stared, his eyes widening. "You don't understand everything that happened," he mumbled weakly. "Maybe I don't," I agreed, "but she is about to." I ended the call. Sometimes the most powerful move is to stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. 2 days before Christmas, the silence broke. My phone rang and Veronica's name flashed on the screen like a warning siren. I let it ring 5 times, establishing dominance, before answering. "Yes? What do you think you are doing?" she hissed. No greeting, no warmth. "I just got off the phone with your aunt. She says you told me I canceled Christmas." "I told her you didn't want a big crowd," I corrected, "which is what you told me when you said I wasn't needed." "Don't play word games with me," she snapped. "You know I was talking about your attitude, not your presence." I laughed, and it felt genuinely good. "So my attitude isn't needed, but my labor is? My organization is?" "Oh, for God's sake, Ilara," she groaned. "This martyr act is exhausted." "You act like a slave when all you do is send a few emails and bake cookies." Heat flooded my chest, molten and fast. "A few emails," I repeated. "I have managed your entire social life for a decade. I handle everything, Mom, and you know it." "You want to talk about work?" Her voice dropped, becoming venomous. "I worked my fingers to the bone for you. I used my savings so you could have a future. I sacrificed everything, and this is how you repay me? By stealing my guests?" I almost let her have the narrative. Almost. But then the image of the bank statement flashed in my mind. "Your savings?" I asked quietly. "Or mine?" Silence. Absolute, terrifying silence. "What are you talking about?" she asked, but the confidence was gone. I opened the photo of the bank statement on my laptop. I hovered over the send button for the group chat, the one with everyone. "I'm talking about the college fund Nana set up, the one you drained 5 years ago to bail Caleb out of debt, while telling me we were too broke for me to finish my degree." "That money was for the family," she shrieked, panic setting in. "Your father's business was failing. Caleb was in trouble. We did what we had to do. Stop acting like the world revolves around you. Right, I whispered. You did what you had to do for everyone except me. I attached the screenshot. I typed a caption. Since Mom told me no one needs me to come this Christmas, I decided to host. Also, for those wondering why I never finished college, here is the receipt. I didn't hit send yet. Veronica was still ranting, a stream of consciousness about loyalty and ungrateful children. I stared at the blue arrow. Once I pressed it, there was no going back. The carefully constructed facade of our family would act like an imploding star. You think you are so powerful, she spat. You think you can ruin my holiday? Let me be clear, Alara. No one needs you. Stay in your sad little apartment. We will be fine without you. There it was, the confirmation. Cool, I said. Well, everything will be canceled then. I hung up and hit send. The fallout was nuclear. My phone lit up like a slot machine paying out a jackpot of dysfunction. Is this real? What fund? Nana Rose sent a voice note, sounding confused and heartbroken. I replied once. It is real. I just found out. I'm not asking anyone to pick sides. I'm just done hiding the truth. I watched the chat implode. Cousins started sharing their own stories of Veronica's pettiness. It was like lifting a rock and watching the bugs scatter. Everyone had known something was wrong for years, but no one had the evidence until now. In the side chat, Veronica was screaming into the void, accusing me of betrayal. Caleb tried to mediate, but he was drowning.
He hadn't known I had the physical proof. On Christmas Eve, my video went live. Strangers from around the world flooded the comments, sharing their own stories of toxic matriarchs and holiday trauma. I realized then that I wasn't an anomaly. I was part of a legion of scapegoats who had finally had enough. By late afternoon, my apartment smelled of roasted garlic, rosemary, and victory. I moved between the oven and the door, welcoming the refugees of Veronica's ego. Cousins arrived with casseroles, neighbors brought wine, and Nana Rose arrived on my arm, teary-eyed but smiling at the warmth of the room. You did all this? She whispered, looking at the decorations I had put up, decorations that were mine, not Veronica's. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. You see it now, I said, squeezing her hand. That's enough. Around 7, my dad called. I hesitated, then answered. He sounded old. Ilara, what is going on? You saw the screenshot, I said. You tell me. He sighed, a sound of deep fatigue. Things were complicated back then. Your mother made choices. With my money, I said, without my consent. Yes, he admitted. He didn't apologize. He just reported the facts. Your mother is devastated. The house is empty. Caleb left an hour ago, furious. Is this what you wanted? I looked around my apartment. It was loud, messy, and real. I wanted the truth. Whatever comes with it is just a consequence. You've humiliated her, he said. She is sitting at a table set for 20, and there are 2 of us. Then she finally knows how it feels, I replied. Every year I sat at that table feeling like a prop. She chose this. Merry Christmas, Dad. I hung up. 2 hours later, a frantic knock pounded on my door. It wasn't Veronica. It was Caleb. He stood in the hallway, coatless, flushed from the cold, holding a hastily wrapped gift. Can I come in? He asked, his voice stripped of his usual bravado. Depends, I said, blocking the doorway. Are you here to drag me back, or are you here to listen? I left, his shoulders slumped. She spent the whole dinner screaming about you. She didn't apologize, not once. She just kept saying how embarrassed she was. Embarrassed, I noted, not sorry. I didn't know about the account, he said, looking me in the eye. I knew she found money for my debt, but I thought, I don't know. I didn't know she stole it from you. You never asked, I said. You never wanted to know where the safety net came from. He flinched. You're right. That's on me. I stepped aside. Come in. But you are here as my brother, not her messenger. He walked in, his eyes widening at the sight of the party, the laughter, the food, the people who had chosen me. He realized then that I didn't need Veronica to build a life.
The night blurred into a haze of joy. We burned a side dish, we sang off-key, we played card games until we were crying with laughter. It wasn't perfect, but it was authentic. At midnight, the final knock came. The room went silent. Caleb stiffened. You don't have to open it, he murmured. I know, I said, but I will. I opened the door to see Veronica. She was wearing her holiday best, but her makeup was smudged and she stood alone in the hallway. "Alara," she said, her voice small, "can we talk?" I stepped out and pulled the door almost shut. "About what? About how I ruined your Christmas?" "You didn't ruin it," she winced. "You ruined mine." "No," I corrected. "I stopped pretending. You ruined it yourself." She looked at me, expecting me to fold. "Everyone is talking about that screenshot. I can't show my face." "Maybe stop acting like a monster and people won't look at you like one," I said. "I did what I had to do," she flared, the old anger surfacing. "I held this family together. Your father was useless. Caleb was reckless." "And you stole from me," I said. "You lied to me, and then you told me I wasn't needed. You want a relationship? Here are the rules. You apologize, you admit it was wrong, you never touch my money again, and you never treat me like a servant." Her eyes filled with tears. For a second, I thought she might do it. I thought she might say the words, but her spine stiffened. She pulled herself up, wrapping her pride around her like a coat. "I don't deserve to be spoken to like this," she said, "after everything I sacrificed." I smiled, a sad, tired smile. "Then you know where the elevator is." She stared at me, waiting for the chase. I didn't move. She turned and walked away, her heels clicking a lonely rhythm down the hall. I watched the elevator doors close on her, severing the cord. I went back inside. Caleb looked up. "She leave?" "She left," I said. "Did you?" "I told her the truth," I replied, "and I didn't apologize for it." Later, in the quiet of the early morning, I sat by the tree lights. I had blown up the family structure. I had exposed the secrets. I had left my mother alone, and for the first time, I felt light. Revenge isn't about fixing the past. It's about ensuring the person who broke you can no longer pretend they are innocent. If your mother told you that you weren't needed, would you swallow the hurt and show up anyway? Or would you burn the script and write your own ending? And more importantly, if you were me, would you ever let her back in? Tell me in the comments, would you choose revenge, forgiveness, or simply silence? And if you want to hear more stories about people reclaiming their lives from the ashes of betrayal, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. The truth is coming, and you won't want to miss what happens next.